Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Had a whole bunch of people send me the story out of Georgia. And this is a topic near and dear to my heart. And if you've seen a lot of my videos, many of you will be able to guess early on what this man's best cause of action would be. And it winds up having a happy ending. But the story headline is a Metro man had his car repossessed because it was stolen. The problem was he bought it legally. And so the repossession actually is a little bit of a misnomer here. Most people think of a repossession as when you buy something, you finance it, and you fail in your financing, they can come take the car as collateral. But here it's not that the car was collateral, it's just that the car belonged to somebody else. So Justin Gray wrote this for WSB TV. And the Metro Atlanta man found out he'd been driving for months in a stolen car when police pulled into his driveway. The thing is, he bought the car fair and square from a local car dealership and had all the paperwork to prove it. So he's a recent college graduate. He told Channel 2 consumer investigator Justin Gray he did everything right, but still ended up with the police at his home, his car taken away, and he's out thousands of dollars. Police body cam footage shows the moment a sheriff's deputy pulled into the man's driveway and said, "The car you're driving there, where did you get that?" He said, "Well, I bought it at," and he names the car dealership. Deputy goes, "Do you have paperwork?" He said, "Yep, yes, sir." "That car is stolen out of Ohio," the officer told him. Honestly, I got scared when he said that because then it was like, does he think I stole it? And that, of course, would be the concern. He had purchased the Audi A6 7 months earlier from a car dealership in Conyers. He said, "I've been paying my payments since I've had the car." And the officer said, "Well, it's not got anything to do with you. You're not in trouble, I promise you." By this point, his mother had shown up and said, "I'm sure this was just a misunderstanding that showing the paperwork would solve it," which is not the case. Deputy says, "So you were in possession of the title of this vehicle?" And they said, "Yes." They showed the officer the title, showed him the date of the purchase. He said, "Well, you were all clean as a whistle. The only thing that's hurting you is I'm going to have to take that car." So the mother said, "I just didn't even know how to process what they were saying, and a tow truck came and took the car away." So this car was reported stolen back in 2022 from a car dealership in Ohio, obviously before the man purchased it. But it didn't show up as stolen in any of the paperwork the dealership had or in the state of Georgia when they run the information through their system. The deputy said it is not kicking in the system as stolen, but the vehicle is in fact reported stolen. So it's not kicking in the system. See, when it kicks, you feel it. You go, "Oh, it's stolen." So the reporter from the TV station says, "So you were driving around in a stolen vehicle for months?" And the man said, "For months, yes, sir." The mom said it's scary because had he been on the streets or somewhere else, he would have automatically been the person that, stole the car. So they would, go, "Well, here's the guy driving it around and it's stolen." The first obvious conclusion to jump to is, oh, he probably did it. But he didn't. Neither the car dealership nor the finance company would do anything about this. So the police came and took the car away. Man calls the dealership, they go, "Can't help you." He calls the finance company, "Can't help you." What's he going to do? So they contacted the dealership and specifically demanded their money back. And they said it wasn't their problem. And apparently one of them said, "I guess you should get a lawyer. You should get a lawyer." Sometimes you don't want the other person to get a lawyer because they're going to win. This company right here, it's going to have to give you all your money back, every dime, the deputy told the man. So the deputy told the man, "You should get your money back." The problem, of course, is that the police officer is not a judge. So even the sheriff's department thought that the dealership should have to make this right. So then the TV station went and asked them. And so you walked off with all the money. The customer's the one with all the problems? The reporter asks the manager of the dealership. And he said, "I understand how you portray it that way. I see what you're trying to say." But he told the reporter that the dealership did not do anything wrong and had done what the law requires, which on some levels might be true. Let's suppose someone traded the vehicle in, everything checked out somehow, and then they sold this other guy and everything checked out. If you've watched my videos in the past, you know this thing called the warranty of title. The warranty of title. We'll get there. Dealership says, "We did a deal. We did due diligence with the state of Georgia. What they require from us to verify the vehicle is not stolen. We have to go through our own processes and procedures within the state guidelines." And they may have done that. and they're still out of luck. The state's not going to say you can't give a customer their money back, the reporter asked. And the dealership manager said, well, again, you are trying to portray it for me to have an answer on a question that you want to hear. So it's a question that matters an awful lot, of course, to the man who bought the car. Recent college graduate, carless for his daily work commute. He continues to get threatening letters from the finance company. The last one I got was last month, basically saying I still owe monthly payments and saying that if I don't pay it, the car is basically up for repossession. Good luck with that. He said, I don't have the car, but it's still reported to my credit as if I do, and that's the real problem. So the mom says we're being treated like we're the ones who stole the car. Meanwhile, the finance company finally stepped forward to start making this right, because keep in mind that the dealership got a down payment, right? And the finance company's been getting payments. So the man is out, the payments he's made to the finance company, and the down payment and whatever else he paid, if anything, to the dealership. So if the finance company goes, look, we'll make it right, presumably that means cancel the loan, refund the payments. What about the down payment to the dealership? The man says he does not have the money back yet, but has come to an agreement with the bank where they say they will pay him back and get the hit to his credit fixed. They sent a statement, we were disappointed to hear about this unfortunate situation and are pleased to have been able to work with our customer on a resolution to make them financially whole in this matter. The dealership actually finally stepped up. The man's mother told the reporter from the TV station that they did in fact take the dealership to court, and a judge ruled they had to pay them $4,500. So the $4,500, I'm guessing, is a refund on the down payment. And that amount very well could have been small claims court, which could also explain how this happened this quickly. Because if this was full-blown litigation, it would not have happened quickly enough to actually make it into this story, most likely. So it sounds like they got all their money back. They were made whole. And so some people are going to say, but Steve, the dealership did nothing wrong. Well, they might not have done anything like morally reprehensible, but they did do something wrong. And that is they sold a car that they did not have good title to. And you're going to say, but Steve, how did they know? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say they knowingly sold a car they didn't have good title to. I said they simply sold a car they didn't have a good title to. And the law says that certain people, when they sell certain things, have got to have good title to those things to sell them. We're talking about merchants, people who are merchants with respect to goods of the kind. So what we're talking about here is the warranty of title and against infringement. And it's Section 2-312, often referred to simply as the warranty of title, 2312. So it's been adopted in all 50 states, mostly verbatim, but some states play with these things a little bit. In Michigan, that'd be MCL 440.2312. Your state might number it differently, but it's Article 2, Section 312. And it says, subject to this section, there is in a contract for sale a warranty by the seller that the title conveyed shall be good and its transfer rightful. There is in a contract for sale a warranty by the seller that the title conveyed shall be good and its transfer rightful. What that means is that warranty exists simply in the contract for sale. If I sell you something, I'm warranting that I've got good title to it, I've got the right to sell it. And it says in Section B, it's also warranted that the goods shall be delivered free from any security interest or other lien or encumbrance of which the buyer at the time of contracting has no knowledge. So the seller, doesn't matter what they knew. It's if the buyer is on notice of anything. And so here, the dealership in Georgia may have had a paper title in hand, but that's not what we're talking about. We talk about title. That's a certificate of title, implying that the title is something else. And so the title is the legal ownership, the legal right to use, sell, or whatever you want to do with something that you own. And so when a dealership takes in a stolen car, even if there's paperwork that looks real and it processes properly with the state of Georgia, doesn't matter. If that car is stolen, it's still something with a bad title. And so this is the kind of thing where you walk into court, and by the way, many judges are not terribly familiar with the UCC because it is an odd little law compared to the stuff that pops up daily in court. And so you simply walk into court with a copy of this and you say, I was sold a stolen car, and later they came and took the car from me, and now I've got nothing, but I'm out this money. Okay, who's at fault? The people who sold me the car. Well, they gave you a title, didn't they? Well, they gave me a certificate of title that was not good. And the police took the vehicle because I didn't own it because that title was no good, obviously. And so that means that they did not convey good title to me, and the transfer was not rightful. Therefore, I didn't get what I paid for. So I know that most people think if I walk into a car dealership and I hand you money and you hand me the keys and tell me where to get the car and I get in the car and drive off with it, I have possession of the car, most people go, well, that transaction is complete. You gave them the money, they gave you the car. Well, that's what physically happened, but that's not what legally happened if that car was stolen and that theft hadn't been resolved. So when you give me the keys to a stolen car and a title that won't allow me to keep that car against other claimants, it's not good title. So breach of the warranty of title and against infringement. So I don't know for a fact that they brought that up in front of the judge. I hope they did. But I think most judges, if pushed, even if they didn't know this UCC thing existed, would understand that, well, wait a second. A person came in and bought something, but the police came and said it's not yours. There is something wrong there. And I would also say, and there's going to be somebody out there and go, Steve, this is so unfair. The dealership had no way of knowing. Let me ask you a question, though. Who's in a better position to know, the dealership or the guy buying the car? Because the guy buying the car comes to the dealership, looks at the car, and he's told, we have good title, we can sell you this car. So he's not on any form of notice whatsoever that something could be wrong. And yet we hear all the time about people taking stolen cars into dealerships and trading them in. I've represented people who bought stolen cars from dealerships. I used that law to get their money back. So if anybody is in a position to prevent this, who is it? It's the dealership. It's the dealership. So how the car got sold back into commerce when it was stolen, we don't know. It may have been a cloned VIN, or it may have just been sloppy paperwork someplace, or who knows, mistakes were made. But the mistakes were not made by the buyer. If mistakes were made, they were made by the seller. But be that as it may, again, you'll notice that the statute does not say that the seller has to have knowledge of the lack of good title. It simply says that the seller shall convey title, which is good. If they can't do that, they're out. They're out. So that's one of the risks you run selling cars in America, is that you are subject to the UCC. Article 2 governs the sales of goods, and this would be, in fact, a sale of a good. So there you go. Thanks, everyone, for sending that to me. The story's out of Georgia, WSB. Justin Gray wrote it. A Metro man had his car repossessed because it was stolen. Problem was he had bought it legally. But he's been made whole. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Happiness is not a horse. You cannot harness it.